I'm sure most of you have seen Google's event and how amazing the Pixel 8 and the 8 Pro are, and I'm super excited to review these new units to show you all the new changes and how they stack against the competition. But what's also exciting today is the release of Android 14 that I have here on my Pixel 7 Pro to show you all the new changes. But don't forget to subscribe to the channel because there are a lot of videos coming in the pipeline that you shouldn't miss. And for now, let's take a look at what's new in Android 14. So let's start with the build number and the update size as usual. Here I have UP1A.231.005.007 and the update size on my 6 Pro is 1 GB, and you should expect about the same size on your phone as well. But I'm not going to do this update to show you a side-by-side comparison between Android 13 and Android 14. So let's take a look at the new features. Starting with the always-on display and lock screen, you will see some design tweaks. Starting with the at-a-glance, on Android 14, everything is on the same line instead of being separated like before, and the same applies to the lock screen. And it's also using a smaller font. And if you have something on your lock screen like the media controls, all the gaps are now smaller and the media controls are a bit higher. The lock screen shortcuts are no longer triggered with a single tap like on Android 13, but when you do the same thing on Android 14, you will get this new animation, and with every movement, you will get a nice haptic feedback. But if you want to trigger the lock screen shortcuts, now you need to tap and hold, and you will also get another haptic feedback for this action. Moving to the unlock keypad, now when you start typing your PIN code, the numbers will be hidden and it will show these material U shapes instead, which is better for your privacy. The second change in this area is the ability to auto-confirm your PIN code and access your home screen without the need to tap the enter key like in Android 13. And for you to do this, you can go to settings and then security and privacy, then device unlock, then tap the gear icon next to screen lock and turn on the switch that says auto confirm unlock, and then it will ask you for the PIN code. Once you finish typing, it will activate the feature. But it only works if your PIN code is 6 digits or more as per the description, and now let's see how it works. The first thing you will notice here that the delete and the enter keys are now gone, but once I start typing, the delete key will show up, and once I finish, it will take me right away to the home screen. Now let's move on to the most exciting change in this area, which is the ability to customize your lock screen clock and shortcuts. And to achieve this on Android 14, you need to tap and hold anywhere. It will first give you a haptic feedback and a button says customize lock screen. Once you tap on this button, it will take you to a whole new design for the Wallpaper and the Style app. And there are a lot to talk about here. First, the gap at the top is much smaller now, and there are 2 taps, one for the lock screen and one for the home screen, instead of getting a small preview for both like before. Then you get a new horizontal carousel to choose between 8 different clock designs as shown now on the screen. And once you're happy with the design, just stay on it and go to your lock screen, and you will see the new change reflected immediately without the need to tap any buttons. But there are even more. When you tap on this new clock color and size button, it will take you to a whole new page with 2 taps at the bottom. The first one is called color, and here you can set your clock to the default color, which will simply match your wallpaper colors without giving you any customizations. But there are also other set of colors to choose from, and when you do this, you will notice that the brightness slider is now available, which will allow you to make the color brighter or darker. And the second tab is called size. And here you can choose between dynamic, which is exactly the same behavior as before. The clock will become bigger if there is no notifications. And once you get any, it will be at the top left corner. But if you want to keep it at the top left at all time, you can choose the small option. And at any point of time, if you didn't like whatever you've done, you can simply tap on the reset button at the top right corner, and it will revert all the changes. Changing your wallpaper is now different as well. So instead of getting only a button that takes you right away to the list of wallpapers you have, now it will show you the most recent 5 wallpapers. And if you want more, you can tap on this button, and that's when it will take you to the same page. It works exactly the same as before, no differences, but the only change I found is the emoji workshop is now placed on the other side. And of course, tapping on any of the wallpapers in this picker will immediately change it here on your lock screen, and it will put this square around it to let you know the current choice. And also when it comes to the colors, you will see the same behavior here. You will get 5 different wallpaper colors to choose from right away on the front screen instead of getting this carousel. And also the taps are now gone, but if you want more, you can tap on the ellipsis first, and that's when it will show you the wallpaper and other colors. I also found that Android 14 colors are noticeably different. So when you take a look here at this example, they are the same colors, but the intensity looks different, and the same applies to the rest of options. Even when you go to the wallpaper colors and choose the exact same wallpaper, you will see the same behavior. And the dark theme button is now located under the same system colors page instead of being on the front like before. Back to the previous page to continue with the changes. And now with Android 14, you will see a brand new menu item called Shortcuts with 2 tabs, one for the left shortcut and one for the right. From here, you can choose between None, Camera, Do Not Disturb, Flashlight, Mute, QR code scanner, video recording, or the wallet. Unfortunately, it doesn't give you the option to choose a custom app or a custom shortcut to do things faster, but it will only give you these presets to choose from. And I also like that it highlights the shortcut you are currently modifying on the preview above. After that, there is a toggle for showing the notifications on the lock screen, which is not available on Android 13. And you can also access your lock screen settings directly from the Wallpaper and the Style app, which wasn't the case before. And you will notice here that the themed icons and the app grid are now gone from this page because we are simply under the lock screen. But once you switch to home screen, that's when you can see the themed icons and app grid. I also found that the app grid page is slightly different. It's more rounded, and there is no apply button like before, but once you choose the option, it will apply the change automatically, and you can revert back at any time if you want. But unfortunately, there is a bug in this feature. As you see, once I change it back to the same 5x5 app grid, some of the icons are now gone, and also the clock widget has been removed for some reason. But this is not the case with Android 13, so I hope Google will work on this bug as soon as possible. And when it comes to the home screen tab, there is nothing to talk about because it matches the lock screen exactly. So let's talk about the home screen itself to see what's different. The first change here is the new animation for the overlay menus. You will notice here that Android 14 animation is more bouncy and slower than Android 13. And the same applies to the app shortcuts as well. Also, the app shortcuts menu got redesigned and we no longer have these separators. The system options and app options are now separated into 2 different groups, plus the handles next to each shortcut are now gone, but you still can tap and hold to place any of them on your home screen if you want. And on top of this, when you tap and hold on any of the apps that have notifications, you will no longer see them in the app shortcuts menu like before. We also got these new pagination dots when you start scrolling on your home screen instead of this thin line like before. Google Lens got a new icon on Android 14. Now we have the ability to tap and hold on the Google search widget on the home screen and then tap on preferences to take you to the search your phone menu. And when it comes to the app drawer, it's now using a gray background color instead of white like before. And the back arrow got redesigned. So let me open YouTube Music, and when I try to go back, you'll notice here that the back arrow now has a fill color and bolder font, plus the back gesture or the predictive back gesture is now behaving differently. You will see here, I cannot make it as small as Android 13, which is also another visual change. So that's it when it comes to the home screen. And now let's talk about the share sheet as it got a complete redesign. So now I'm trying to share one of the images from the recent apps screen. You will see here that at the top, the handle is bigger and darker. Now it says what type of content you are trying to share. In this case, it says sharing image. And if it's a link, it will do the same thing. When it comes to the image thumbnail, it's much bigger now with Android 14. The edit and nearby share buttons have been removed, and now the edit button is floating over the image itself, and the nearby share option is now located within the list of apps. And when it comes to the spacing, it's much smaller now with Android 14, and the separator has a darker color to make it easier to see. And here's how it looks when you try to share text. You will notice here that the copy button is now different. And when you use Google Chrome on Android 14, you will see this redesigned share sheet that looks much better than before. Now let's move on to the quick settings. And the first change is the ability to tap the clock to open the clock app. The screen record floating card got redesigned toggles. There's a new font size style which will allow you to adjust your font size immediately from the quick settings. Moving to the media controls with Android 14, when you tap on any of the buttons, you will see this new visual effect that starts from where the button is located. which wasn't the case before. And when you play or pause, it will keep animating for few seconds after the fact. The media output switcher also got its own design tweaks. First, when you drag your finger over the volume slider, now you can see the percentage. And if you want to mute the sound immediately, you can tap on the speaker icon. There is a new title for the other devices you have called speakers and displays. And when you take a look here at the items, you will see a bigger margin between the icons and the text. And lastly, when you cast media to multiple smart speakers, this is how it looks now on Android 14. Now let me show you some random tweaks here and there. And the first one is in the screenshot and the clipboard pop-ups. As you see here, the share and the edit buttons are now bigger on Android 14. The sound profiles under the volume controls are now using the speaker icon instead of the old ring. The biometric authentication card now has a different design for the fingerprint icon. With Android 14, you can also drag and drop items between apps using two hands. So for example, if I want to drag and drop this photo into the Notes app, I can hold it like this and then use my other hand to navigate to the home screen and open any of the notes and drop it right away, and it will take few seconds to appear. And the same applies to text. So all you need to do is to highlight the text you want to drag over and then open whatever app you want, drop it into the text field, and you are good to go. And when it comes to third-party apps, now you have the ability to give partial access to your photos and videos. And here I have select photos and videos, allow all or don't allow. While on Android 13, I either can allow all or don't allow. So when I tap on select photos and videos, it will show me the recent photos, or I can choose any of the albums I have. Also with Android 14, now you have the ability to dismiss the accessibility buttons floating over the display, same as the picture-in-picture window. Android 14 call notification now has thinner buttons when compared to Android 13, but I don't have an example on my 6 Pro to show you the difference. Android 14 will also notify you if you are listening to something at a high volume for a while to avoid damaging your hearing. And by the way, this is not related to the headphones. Even if you are not wearing one and listening to music on your stereo, you will still get this notification, and I got it a couple of times on my 7 Pro while listening to music in my car. And now when you plug the phone to the charger, you will get this new animation around the battery. Now it's time to talk about the differences under settings, and if you have the predictive back gesture feature activated on both, when you go back on Android 14, you will see this new animation that doesn't exist with Android 13. The second change that you will see everywhere under settings is the new toggles, similar to the ones we saw in the screen record floating card. And if you live in the Middle East like I do, now you can activate the voice over LTE by going to the SIM card settings, and you will see the toggle over here, but unfortunately 5G is still not working in the region. Also under network and the internet, you will notice here that the plus sign is now gone, and to add a new SIM you need to go inside the page. And also the download SIM option is now a button instead of text only like before, but it seems to be buggy because the text is dark on a dark background. Next, under apps and then special app access, you will see two new additions here. The first one is called full screen notifications. So if any of the apps can give you a full screen notification and you don't want this to happen, you can simply turn off the switch. For example, the clock app will give you a full screen alarm notification, but if you want to only get a banner, you can turn off the feature from here. The second new addition is the launch via NFC. So if you have any NFC tags that launches a specific app, you can remove the permission from here as well. Under notifications, the app settings menu is now called app notifications, and also the filter at the top looks slightly different. Also under notifications, when you scroll down a bit, you will see a new menu item called the flash notifications. And here you can activate the camera flash or the screen to blink every time you get a notification, and here is how it looks. And you can also change the screen flash color by tapping on the option like this, and then tap on preview to check it before activating. Now let's move on to the battery, and the first change is under battery usage. Now you can see the screen time since last full charge at the very top without the need to scroll all the way down and then expand the system usage like before. Google also removed the expandable system usage section, and now you have a filter at the top to switch between apps and systems. And it seems like the information showing here are more detailed, because I started to see things like the CPU, the GPU, and so on, and I've never seen this information on Android 13. Next, we have the battery saver page, and here you will see some noticeable differences in how things are organized. So for example, now you have standard battery saver and extreme battery saver radio buttons, while here on Android 13, just activating the battery saver means you are on the standard mode. It doesn't have a name, but if you want to take it further, that's when you need to go to the extreme battery saver menu. You will also notice this new gear button that takes you to extreme battery saver instead of tapping on the item like before. Also on Android 14, it takes you right away to this page to choose what apps to include, while here it will first give you two options. One, to choose when to use the feature, which is no longer available on Android 14. And if you want to choose the apps, you can tap on Essential Apps, which is now called Extreme Battery Saver. You'll notice here that the checkboxes next to the essential apps are now gone because you cannot change anything anyways, so there is no point of having them. Plus, when you try to add an app to the list, you'll notice here it stays in its same spot, but on Android 14 it will move into the other section, which will make it easier for you to remove it at any time. And also it got this new plus and X buttons to add or remove apps. Let's go back to battery saver, and you'll notice here that adaptive battery is now located under battery saver instead of being under adaptive preferences that you can access from the main battery page. Also under battery saver, the set schedule option is now called schedules and reminders. And when you go inside, you will see here that the minimum threshold to activate the feature on Android 13 is 10%, while on Android 14 it's 20%. The set a schedule based on your phone routine option is now gone, and also you can turn off the battery saver reminders, which are the ones you get when your battery is low. And under the same page, you have a toggle to turn off at 90% that we also have on Android 13, but it was located in a different place, plus the name is different. So I think with Android 14, it's more descriptive. Back to the main battery page, and now the adaptive charging has its own menu item instead of being under adaptive preferences. And also you can add the battery widget from your phone settings if you don't have it already on your home screen, which wasn't the case with Android 13. Next, under sound and vibration, now you have the ability to set the ring volume and notification volume separately instead of having one toggle for both. And you will see the same change under the volume controls by pressing the volume rockers. Under display, you will see a new menu item called navigation mode to change between the 3-button or gesture navigation, which was previously under system and then gestures on Android 13. And Google also added this new tutorial to help you get familiar with the new gesture navigation in case you got used to the 3-button. Google also added a new shortcuts menu under the lock screen settings, which is another way to modify your lock screen shortcuts instead of going to the Wallpaper and the Style app. And there are some naming changes here under the display settings and then lock screen. Now the control from locked device is called use device controls. And when you go to the main display settings, you will see here that the screen resolution naming is now different. Now it says high resolution instead of 1440p Quad HD Plus, and when you go inside you will see the same differences. Next we have security and privacy, and here is the first time to see a notification about system updates. It says here check for system updates. There may be updates available for your device, and when I tap on it, it took me to the Google Play Services update, and yes, I do have an update that I need to install. And this never happened on Android 13 in my experience. The second change is everything now stacked on top of each other instead of having these expandable menus. And when you go inside any of the items, it will first take you to a landing page with a graphical representation about the feature and a button here at the top that takes you back to the previous page. And then you can see the options, while here you can jump to the option right away with Android 13. Also, most of the items got renamed. So for example, Google Security Checkup is now called Account Security, Find My Device called Device Finders, Updates is called System and Updates, and also the Privacy menu now consolidates everything related to the privacy instead of having this expandable menu. And the rest of the options, which are more security and more privacy settings, are now in one page, where you can see the privacy options at the top, and when you scroll down a bit you will see the security options. It's also worth mentioning that when you go to Find My Device and then Device Finders on Android 14, you will see this new unknown tracker alerts, which will allow you to get notified if unknown tracker has detected, like for example an Apple AirTag or any other tracker that's traveling with you. You can get notified about these, and also do a manual scan if you want, in case it didn't notify you automatically. And when you go to the privacy settings, you will see a new page called Data Sharing Updates for Location. And as per the description, if any of the apps you have on the device updated the way they share your location data with others, you will know about these changes over here. Moving to passwords and accounts, now instead of having two Google items under passwords and autofill, now everything is consolidated under passwords, passkeys, and data services. They do exactly the same thing, but it's better organized. Next, under system, the languages and input menu is now separated into languages and keyboard. And when you go inside languages, you will see here a new option called regional preferences, which will allow you to set the default temperature unit and the first day of the week for all the apps in one place. And of course, the other options related to the keyboard are now located in the separate keyboard menu. The navigation mode menu we saw under the display settings before is also located under system on the front page instead of being under gestures and then system navigation like on Android 13. Under date and time, you will see shorter names for the time zone options. Under multiple users, now you have the ability to activate phone calls for the guest user directly from the front page, but previously to do the same, you have to go inside the guest user settings. And also, when you tap on adding a new user, you will get a slightly different screen, and also you have the ability to choose much more profile pictures when compared to Android 13. Under reset options, now the reset Wi-Fi, mobile, and Bluetooth are separated into two menus, one for the mobile network settings and one for the Bluetooth and Wi-Fi. Also, the erase downloaded SIMs is called erase eSIMs. And the last thing I'm going to show you under settings, when you go to about phone and then tap on your phone's model number, in this case the Pixel 7 Pro, now you can see the manufactured year. So these are all the features I spotted in Android 14, but Google published a video about October 23 feature drop that has even more features that I won't be able to show you in this video. The first one is the new interpreter mode for the Pixel Fold, which will allow you to use the inner and the outer displays for translation or the live translation feature. And also now when you plug an incompatible USB cable into your phone, you will get notified if this cable will charge your phone slowly or won't charge it at all. The third change is the new kids space for the Pixel tablet. It will simply give a simplified UI to your kids when they use it and apply all the required restrictions to make sure that they are using the tablet safely. Also keep in mind when you install Android 14 and update your GCam, you should get this new interface I talked about in one of my videos. So I'm gonna leave its link in the description below if you want to check it out. Now let's end this video by talking about the performance, battery, and thermal management. From my experience with Android 14 beta, I can tell you that it's much better than Android 13 in these three areas. And I think the stable version is no exception. But to give you my full experience, I have to use the phone for a few days, and then I will create a follow-up video to talk about them and also include any features I missed to mention. So that's pretty much it for today. Those are all the new changes I wanted to show you in Android 14, and soon you will see a lot of videos about the Pixel 8, the 15 Pro Max, and also the S23 Ultra. So stay tuned for these videos and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. But for now, thanks so much for watching and see you in the next video.